The radio crackled to life in the dead of night, whispering names of ships that hadn't sailed in decades, their voices echoing from somewhere too close, inside the walls of the lighthouse itself. My name is Elias, and I was the last keeper of the Gray Shoal Lighthouse, a crumbling relic perched on a jagged rock off the Maine coast. The job was simple: keep the light burning, monitor the radio, and survive the isolation. I'd been alone out there for 3 months, long enough to know the rhythm of the waves, the groan of the wind, and the way the fog could swallow the world whole. But nothing prepared me for the night the ocean started talking back. It was late November, and the air was bitter, slicing through my wool coat like a knife. The lighthouse was a beast of a structure, 150 feet of weathered stone, its beacon cutting through the mist like a desperate eye. I spent my nights in the watchroom, a cramped space at the top where the radio sat on a rickety table, its dials glowing faintly under a single bulb. That night the sea was restless, waves crashing against the rocks below with a low, guttural roar. I was sipping cold coffee, half listening to static on the radio when it happened. "Mayday! Mayday! This is the SS Mariner. We're taking on water." The voice was faint, garbled, like it was being dragged up from the deep. I froze, coffee cup halfway to my lips. The SS Mariner sank in 1947. I'd read about it in the logbooks, lost with all hands in a nor'easter 20 miles from here. My first thought was a prank, some bored Coast Guard messing with me. I grabbed the mic, my voice sharper than I intended. "This is Gray Shoal Lighthouse. Identify yourself." Static. Then, clearer this time, "Mayday. SS Mariner. Please, we're sinking. Coordinates 44.2 north, 67.8 west." My stomach twisted. Those coordinates were here, right where the lighthouse stood. I checked the equipment. Everything was working. No crossed signals. The voice came again, weaker, almost pleading. "Help us. It's so cold." Then silence. Just the hiss of static and the distant crash of waves. I didn't sleep that night. I told myself it was a glitch, maybe an old signal bouncing off the atmosphere. But the air in the watchroom felt heavier, the shadows sharper. The bulb flickered, casting jagged shapes across the walls, and I swore I heard a faint drip, like water seeping through stone. By morning, the radio was quiet, and I chalked it up to fatigue. Isolation does strange things to the mind. The next night, it happened again. Different ship, same desperation. "This is the Lady Grace. We've hit the shoal. God, the water's everywhere." The Lady Grace went down in 1893. I'd seen its name carved into a memorial plaque at the base of the tower, a grim reminder of the reef's toll. The voice was a woman's, trembling, and it didn't stop. "Please, someone, we're drowning." I shouted into the mic, demanding answers, but the voice just looped, fainter each time, until it dissolved into static. My hands shook as I scribbled down the words, trying to make sense of it. The coordinates were the same, right here, right now. I started noticing things after that. The air in the lighthouse was always damp, but now it smelled of brine, like the sea was pooling somewhere below. Footsteps creaked on the spiral staircase when I was alone, slow and deliberate, stopping just outside the watchroom door. I checked every inch of the tower, nothing. No leaks, no intruders, just the endless howl of the wind and the beacon's steady pulse. But at night, the radio kept waking, spitting out names of ghost ships: the Iron Star, the Dawn's End, the Eternal Hope. All lost, all calling from the same coordinates, their voices overlapping in a chorus of panic. By the fifth night, I was unraveling. I hadn't slept in days, my eyes burning from staring at the radio, waiting for it to speak. The cold was unbearable, seeping into my bones despite the heater. I wrapped myself in blankets, but my breath still fogged the air. That's when I heard it, not from the radio, but from the walls. A faint, wet whisper, like voices muffled by water. Elias. My name, unmistakable, spoken in a dozen overlapping tones. Men, women, even a child. I bolted upright, heart hammering. The radio was off, the room silent except for that dripping sound, louder now, coming from below. I grabbed a flashlight and descended the staircase, the beam shaking in my hand. The lower levels were dark, the air thick with salt and decay. At the base, where the memorial plaque hung, I found it. A puddle of seawater, spreading across the stone floor with no source, no crack in the walls. The whispers grew louder, circling me, saying my name, begging for help. I ran back up, locking the watchroom door, but the voices followed, seeping through the walls like the tide itself. The final night, the radio didn't wait for me to turn it on. It roared to life, a cacophony of voices, hundreds, maybe thousands, screaming, sobbing, pleading. "Elias, help us, we're here!" I tore the plug from the wall, but the voices didn't stop. They were inside the tower, inside my head, coming from the lantern room above. I climbed the last flight of stairs, dreading what I'd find. The beacon was spinning, faster than it should, its light cutting through the fog in frantic bursts. And in the glass, reflected against the night, were faces, pale, waterlogged, their mouths moving in sync with the voices. They weren't outside. They were in the walls, in the floor, in the air I breathed. I don't remember leaving the lighthouse. The Coast Guard found me on the mainland, half frozen, babbling about voices. They said the Gray Shoal lighthouse was empty, the radio unplugged, the beacon still. But I know what I heard, I know what I saw. And sometimes at night, when the wind howls just right, I still hear them, calling my name, begging me to come back to the tower where they wait, forever trapped in the stone.